All right, so we talk about recruiting a lot, right? To get your Nikes, get 3 joins, get some joins, get some joins. But your joins aren't going to do you any good. You're getting
Sorry, hold on.
joins.
If it's not obvious, we're on the retain and grow part. We've been swapping.
It's about to be obvious with my very next breath. As I interrupt her,
retain and grow. No, go ahead.
Y'all can't figure that out. Anyway, so the very next step, if you're not retaining, you're not going to grow. And we debated about putting this in the training because it seems like people should know it, but you know, sometimes they don't. So we're going to talk about retention because signing up people is useless if you're not going up. And if your team's not going up. So if you're not going up in points, but you're seeing joins, figure out where the leak is in the retention. Sometimes it's one leg. You might have one leg that's great at it. And the other reason retention is so important, just this year, I've had a couple of senior Ruby level 2s and 3s come back into the business because of retention. Should not take a break, but their retention was so good, their points barely moved. Isn't that the kind of business that we all want? Like, that's pretty amazing. Not excusing their AdSense because it's about to kick them in the butt, but they are getting a great paycheck, and that really built their belief, and they're back and on fire, and they will be emerald soon. So let's get started on that.
And I just want to say really quick before we move any further, like take the time to really, some of this we are going to go through some basics, but I don't want to lose you guys in like, I heard this before or whatever, because unless you are sitting here and you're like, yep, my retention is exactly where I want it to be for my entire team, then like I give you permission to go take a potty break or something. But otherwise, analyze and think about how this could apply to you, but then also, okay, what are some things that maybe I don't know with my people, and maybe I'm not asking questions that I should be asking. So we're gonna look at on both angles of personal retention with obviously what are you duplicating, but also how do we dive into that specifically with your teams or legs and figure out, you know, even just from one leg to another. So that's kind of where we're gonna go with this. You talked about how this is, well, I guess you started with that. It's a second skill set after recruiting, right? So if you start someone off new to this business and you're teaching them how to recruit, the next thing you got to teach them is how to retain. So that's why this is really, really important, right? It's working smarter, not harder. I mean, that's really what retaining is all about. If we have, you know, you're an amazing recruiter and you bring in 10 people a month personally, like that's great, good job. But if that's what you're doing over and over again and you're not retaining them versus the next person might bring in 3 a month, but they're retaining way more than you, their business might be growing significantly better, right? So it's not just that you have to keep spinning your wheels. You want to keep the people who you're bringing in. So that's why this is important to dive into. It's shifting from the sales mindset to having an entrepreneur mindset, right? We're building a legacy business. So we're building leaders. We're creating leaders, but that's how we have that that true residual income, right? Because people are staying in the products, they're loving them. We're not just in a sales mindset every single month. You're looking at it as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, when I started in my first month, I signed up 80 customers and I lost every single one of them. You can't retain that, right? I was posting in garage sale sites. I had every tab on my computer open, copy and paste, click, 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 copy and like I realized very quickly I'm making $2,000 a month, but I do not want to do this the rest of my life. So how can I make something duplicatable? Signing people up and not giving them good customer service so that they aren't getting results. They hate the products is terrible for our company. So I quickly, the second month, I switched everything I was doing, even though I was making that money. I knew that by stopping that kind of mass quantity, my paycheck was going to go way down, but I knew that was the way to get to 7 figures. I knew that I had to stop that. So how do you retain? It starts before you even sign someone up. It starts in your posting. One of my biggest pet peeves is money back guarantee. When you say that and you're losing people, and it's right at that mark where they'll get their money back. They'll say they didn't get results. They'll say all sorts of things, but they're talking about a money back guarantee too soon. Now, as a last ditch effort to get someone, just try it, you get your money back. That's fine. You've been trying to sign someone up for 3 years, or you've really been following up, and they just will not bite, then bring it in. But if you're starting out that way, you have some insecurities in the products, and you need to check yourself and stop saying that. And then even if you're like, yeah, I know that, duh, that's the basics. Make sure your team is not doing that either. So it's okay, and it's not okay. In this business, nothing's okay if you know it and your team doesn't know it. Christina was talking about that. You have to get everybody. I lost my thought because I was like, oh, I'm drifting.
You have to be
You have to
mindful of what your people are doing and what's being duplicated or not. So we're gonna talk about that later too, but you gotta be digging in. So these are retention habits. So it's before you sign someone up, what you're saying to them, you're telling them that they're planning on 3 to 6 months of consistency. You're painting that picture for long-term health. You're talking about gut health. You're talking about the products that not only they're gonna start with, but they might want to add on later. So that when you go to add that on, so it's before you sign them up. It's how you sign them up, being on the phone, making that connection. Along with that, quick mentioning 3-way calls is another habit. So if you are scheduling those, why are those important? You cast vision and you find business builders, and you connect and allow for future troubleshooting help. So if you are doing them regularly, your upline is helping you find those business builders and develop them. Even if you're great at it, even if you've already talked to them about the business and they're not interested, had so many times where you do a 3-way call and all of a sudden, oh yeah, I guess they're interested. Like they might respond differently in a different way that's presented or to your upline or whatever that is. So it's a huge opportunity right there.
Yeah, if you're not doing 3-way calls, don't make excuses for why you're not. Just do it. We said to do it. And when we come up with training for this retreat or any retreat that we do, we're not wasting our breath. We know we have limited time with you. So if we're saying it, it's important. I don't want to hear, I can't get them on the phone. If we said get on the phone, you better figure out how to get them on the phone with you. It's that important. You have to be doing it. And it doesn't make Jamie a lesser person if she wants to get someone on the phone with me. Third-party validation is great. All about that, but make sure you're doing that. 3-way chats too. The teams that have the best retention in my entire organization have 3-way chats. You want to talk about that? Because you guys are really good at that.
Yeah, it's something we duplicate very intentionally. And the reason is not that like you yourself personally cannot handle helping someone get started. Having that 3-way chat does several things. It opens up a space for culture and for just building in on that person, community, culture and community, right? It opens up the door for third-party validation. And when you use them for conversation all the time, not just when they have a problem, you're using them to check in, you're using them to wish them happy birthday, you're using them to ask them how their weekend went. Then you're building that culture and community. So your upline is connected to them. They are building that relationship. And then when there actually is a problem, they actually might value their opinion and they might respond and they might, just, it's a better space for that. You also have that space as a huge, huge component for, did you want to say something before I said that?
Yeah, I'll wait.
For training. So that upline, it's the sponsor's role to manage that chat and to continue to have communication happening. But when the upline is in there, they can see what is being said. They can see, yeah, they're onboarding them great. They're connecting them about the business. They're doing this or that. Or they can say, ooh, they were a little harsh there. Or, oh, they had an excuse, but they just like validated it and didn't do anything else. You can connect with them privately and say, hey, how about we word it this way next time? Or, hey, I would also add this. So it's a whole training ground for you to be able to be one-on-one there. It makes your coaching so much easier when you're on the phone coaching your people, to be able to see and know what's going on with their people. And it also helps you connect 4 levels deep with your team, because it's your level 1 and your level 2. But when it is being duplicated, your level 2 is in the chat with your level 3 and your level 4, right? So if you're talking to your level 2 and they have a problem with something going on deep in their team, you already know, you can ask them questions about their chats or their people. You have a connection 4 levels deep to your team, which is very, very powerful for the duplication, for raising up leaders, for finding the gaps, for finding the leaders and just having that, it's so powerful. What were you gonna say on that?
You explained that so much better than I would have, but I was gonna say the same thing, but that's why I love you. That right there is how you build a solid team, by watching what your people are doing. And if you're not seeing what they're doing, you cannot build a solid team. You just cannot.
Mhm.
Jamie already said all that. I don't even need to repeat it. That was good.
All right, so that's a retention habit. Another one is not letting them quit. So, and that's something that's just learned over time. That's something you guys duplicated down very powerfully. It was, when someone had a problem, it was immediately having that mindset and knowing that, hey, the products do work for them. We just got to figure out what the issue is, and we're going to help them through. Even when they present it in a way that, hey, I'm done, this didn't work for me, and they're like, their mind is made up, you can ask questions to keep the conversation going, to think, oh, wait, tell me more. What do you mean? What went wrong? And then they tell you and be like, okay, well, here's what we could do instead. Does this sound like a good plan for moving forward? I assume the best. I don't ask them to keep going. I just kind of talk them through it and then say, what do you think about this new plan? And then they can tell me again if they want to quit. But a lot of times they stay on and be like, okay, yeah, I guess I could try that. So it's finding out how to move forward with them and not just throwing in the towel. And the important part is, if you feel like you're great with that, good, but do a check on your team. That's how this is being duplicated down, right?
Yeah, it goes back to your belief in the products. If you firmly believe that they work for everyone, you're not going to be letting people quit. Now, there are some people who do quit, but I will say that 80% of the people that I have worked with let people quit way too easily. Way too easily. And if you don't understand how the products work and why people need to use them long term, might be a good topic to learn more on, is just the health benefits and how all of that stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about team retention and as a leader and all that?
Yeah, so next point, we're gonna talk about team retention. So this is what we started to kind of allude to a little bit, to know what is going on with your people. And the big key is to not assume. Just because I told them once to do these things in terms of how retention goes, or we did a team training on retention, does not necessarily mean they're doing all those things, right? So you need to be proactive and looking at your business as a wise leader, smart, as analyzing it and looking at it not only by your level ones, but then by legs, like one leg at a time. And you can do that very, very intentionally, and then ask the questions to figure out what they are doing or they are not doing. So when you look at your level ones or by leg, you can look at it by retention and see, okay, do we have, get into your virtual office and see what's happening on a month-to-month basis. Do you want to talk about the virtual office?
Yeah, because one of the objections is, I don't want to babysit my people. You're not babysitting your people to see what your level ones are doing with your level twos. This is your team. If I just had all my level ones who were ordering or kind of sharing, or even my leaders, but no one else, I wouldn't have a team. It's your whole team. You are all my team. Jamie has her team. Like, we're all a team, and you need to know what's going on 4 levels deep. Okay, so if you are heading to before Ruby, you ought to have a pretty good grasp on pretty much everybody. You look back there, why did so-and-so turn their back before? What's going on? Why did this person not reorder? Or this leg? Why are your people stopping after 1 month? Look for trends. Everyone is stopping after 1 month. And you do this to help your leaders. It's not just for your level ones, but your level twos, and then train them to do it with their people.
Mm-hmm. So specifically, I go into my virtual office and I might look at one level one and click view team, right? So you don't want to look at everybody as a whole. You want to be able to dissect it by your leaders. So look at view team, then sort it by their subscription, or sort it by their join date. And then you can look and see, everyone from last month who joined, do all of them have their subscriptions on? If they don't, have they been reached out to? Unless you personally did it, you don't know that unless you've asked that and talked to your people. So ask them, hey, I noticed these people have their subs turned off. What's going on with Joe? What's going on with Susie? And ask them and see what they said then. Well, he didn't want the products anymore. Okay, what did you say? Like, how'd that conversation go? Do they know how to help someone get their sub back on? What does that look like? You know, do they need to just get it back on and push it back? Why don't they need their products already? Are they not being consistent? Did they not start right away? Okay, they didn't start right away. Okay, then why didn't they start right away? Did you connect with them and kind of have that urgency to go right away? I mean, you can't control everything that the new joins will do, but you can make sure you connect with your workers and help them with the tools to, oh yeah, I guess I could have connected the day they got their product and made sure that, you know, they started that night and I could have carried that conversation better, you know? So you have to keep digging deeper to find those little holes, because those tiny tweaks makes an incredible difference with retention down the road, right? So finding out, is a sub pushed back? Is it turned off? Why? And where are the patterns? Do they fall off after the second month? Do they fall off after the first month? Are they talking about long-term picture with gut health? How are they onboarding their people? How are they getting them started? All the questions of diving in.
Yeah, and check their belief on things. Definitely something that people will struggle with keeping people on the products. If someone's really letting a lot of people quit, it'll go back to belief. If they are signing up a lot of people, they have enough belief to get them signed up. But what belief are they lacking that they're letting people quit so easily? You know, they just have to take that same passion and that same belief that gets them the ability to get joins and figure out why they're not using that same exact thing, that same skill that they have, and using that with retention as well. They might have to readdress, I feel pushy, I feel naggy, I feel like I'm bothering them all over again. So the issues that we start out with in this business, like I don't want to scare people off, they will get them and they sign up and you think, oh, they've overcome the fear of scaring people off. Then you see it come up again in their retention. So they have to work through that again. You're like, oh gosh, would they just get it? There's a few basic skill sets here. That is the next one, but that definitely, a lot of times people will let that slip because they think they got it. They can get someone. They must have solid belief. They must know where they're going and where everyone else is going.
So that goes back to when you're talking about coaching. You start off with either mindset or skill set. Where is their skill set? Are they doing, is there anything that can be improved or tweaked upon? And then going to the mind, like sometimes you'll uncover that mindset. Oh, well, I just didn't want to be pushy, or I just did, oh, okay, mindset, you know, now we're going to go there. So make sure you're looking for both of those things. Leadership retention. Why is this important?
Y'all don't want to be cycling through your leaders, just like you don't want to be going through a bunch of product users who quit. You don't want a bunch of leaders who quit. And there's such a balance between dragging your leaders and then just letting them quit. They get to gold and they quit, and you're constantly trying to replace them. So you're always a leader first, even though they were your friend before Plexus, but when you're growing a business with them, you are their leader first, still their friend. But then when you're trying to retain people, you really do need to focus, like we talked about, on the relationship. This is how you keep people. It's basically building culture is really what it is. How to retain your leaders is through culture. It's through events like this, connecting with people. People don't leave where they feel loved, connected, understood, heard, seen, valued. So the other thing, I'm going totally off the notes now, just so you know. The other thing, the other thing is give them a job. Make them feel, it's going to make them feel valued. So I did this, they say I did this really well, so I'll say I did this very well. But I learned it from How to Win Friends and Influence People. They Want by Dale Carnegie. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. It's really good. But he talks about giving people the opportunity to value themselves. It builds their belief. When you give them some sort of a platform, making videos in the team page or running an event, doing something that creates teamwork, this also creates good, healthy sideline relationships, because they're bonding together. They're not off having their own little chit chatter on their side. They're together for a unified vision for what you, the leader, have for them. But you need to create that culture. If you don't create the culture for them, they're going to either quit and go find it somewhere else, or they're going to create it in the wrong way. And in the wrong way, it's always with completely off the trail sideline somewhere where they don't belong. If we don't create culture for Jamie, she's going to try to find it over on Brittany's team. And that's fine in a setting like this, but it's not going to add value if she's putting all her energy and all of her investment in those relationships instead of in her downline and duplicating what you're doing with them.
That's big. So some people can tend to gravitate towards one to the other. Some might gravitate towards, hey, I'm really focused on like business and, you know, this relationship with building this business. And some people might be more focused on the personal and being friendly and all this kind of stuff. So you need that balance of the personal life and connecting with them and not always being just about business with Plexus. You have to build those friendships with people because that is what that bridges that gap. But you have, it's the balance of both, right? You can't be all one or all the other. What else?
Looking in your virtual office with
Yes.
your leaders, see who's close to a rank up. This is fun. This is fun back office
You do
stuff.
this a lot. You do go to this.
I get excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's only 100 points away. She can do it. Why is this person 3 points away from Sapphire or whatever it is? Get them in there. Do they know this? Do they see this? Be excited. Always push them towards the next goal with excitement. Do you realize how close you are to gold? Oh yeah, girl, 3 joins. That's totally doable. You can do that. Always pushing them towards the next goal when it's doable. I wouldn't be like, wow, you're 1,000 points away from diamond. Let's do it. You're going to get them really not happy with their life or their business because they're going to be like, she said I should be able to do this. I didn't do it. I must suck. So you have to work with what is doable for them. And that's going to be different for every person too. If you know their goals, you know, if someone wanted Ruby and you're like, oh, you could go diamond tomorrow. Like, no, that's not about them. Then that's become about you. And it's like they sense that.
So you're gonna go into your virtual office, and the great thing to do, depending how large your team is, you can do this throughout the month. You know your people a little bit better, but as it grows and gets bigger, you know, the 28th of every month, that's when points are in, right? So you can go to your virtual office and sort by your team points at the very far right. And you can look at everybody's team points that you have and see which ones are close to a rank up. So I go to the groupings that are by each rank and see, oh, this person's 20 points away, or this person's 5 points away. And not hesitating, if you don't know that they're going for that rank up, reach out to them or their sponsor, be like, I'm so excited for this person. Like, how are they doing? Are they going for this rank? And sometimes they are not, or they're not aware. I've had many, many times where they're not aware. So that's something you as a leader can do in being proactive and intentional at finding and encouraging those people. And sometimes it's a really, really great thing for them to get a message from one of their upline leaders to, oh, they're cheering me on. They see me, you know, I'm going for this goal. They see me. Another thing to look for are people who are getting a lot of joins that month. Like you got a new runner in town. You got someone who's doing really well. Like you can see what's going on in your virtual office and shoot them a message or shoot their sponsor a message and be like, look what's going on. Like, this is great. How are they doing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, just make that connection. So that's what I mean, obviously, if it's your level 1, you will know some of those things, but that's the deeper level in your business. And you do that a lot with all the way down in your business. So
I learned my lesson because sometimes I'm like, after the fact, like, who's all going to leaders retreat? Oh, so-and-so didn't earn it. And then we found out they're like 3 joins away. And then I'm mad. I'm like, they could be here. This is huge. Why did someone miss this?
2 joins away from leaders retreat right when I joined.
We had no idea. So I learned, like, don't be shocked, or you might be shocked, but you shouldn't be shocked if you're doing what you should do, connecting with people, asking them. I always wish we had like points to see everyone in the contest because I'm always asking name by name. Your level ones, your level ones, your level ones. Where are they all at? How can we help them? What do we need to do? That's a job for you as a leader. When someone is working and running a team, don't leave them. She's got it. I hear it all the time. She's amazing. Ask how a leader is. She's got it. She's amazing. What do you mean she's got it? She's amazing. She has no flaws. Like, she'll be diamond tomorrow then. I'm pretty sure I actually sarcastically say that. And then people get what I'm trying to say. You still need to be connected. You need to know what's going on in their business. Don't just think or assume that they have this figured out. You've been doing this longer than them. You're usually a higher rank than them. You probably know what they need to do. Don't be afraid to tell them.
All right. So the final point, really quick and concise, is duplication. Is your team duplicating this? Are they duplicating, the retention in general, the leadership retention? all of these things, how is that duplicating? What levels are, do you do well duplicating your first 2 levels, but then after that, you don't have leaders creating leaders. Those are some good things to look at. How deep are your leaders creating leaders? Where is the fall off? Where, you know, do they know how to develop new business builders or silvers? Like, look for those things and how you are duplicating, both wide and deep.
If you see a leader that's getting joins and going down in points, that's a problem. That's a huge red flag. And your main goal is to be the detective and figure out why. Because you don't want your people sitting there. And sometimes it's a personal growth issue. Like sometimes they are stuck because of personal growth, and then you can't do much about it. They have to make that choice to overcome fears and stuff like that. But if they're not getting joins or retention, so points going up, those are 2 things to look for. How do I get this person having wins? How do I help them have some wins?
And one last thing I was gonna add that I've kind of came to me later was how to kind of look at some of this. It's kind of fun if you can look at it from a color personality thing. So when you look at the mindset of why someone may or may not be doing something, you know, maybe you have someone who's a red and they're really focused on goals and prizes, so they're not looking at retention, right? They're honing in on what is being reproduced this month. So you might need to make sure that, you know, they're looking the other way, or maybe you have a blue personality that's avoiding the retention because it's not fun and they don't want to do that part. They want to do the fun things. You know, you might have a yellow personality who is, they don't like lay down the law, or they just are very understanding and, oh, okay, it's okay that you want to quit. I'm always here if you want to come back. You know, so you might have to help them reword and figure out how to phrase that differently. Greens and reds might not be, I mean, I guess I didn't know this one very well as much, but I don't know if that'd be maybe not connecting with people as much and doing more of the strategies and numbers. So make sure you're connecting. So fun way to look at that, knowing that each personality is going to be different and how you might have to help them work through some things. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, that's all.